the guest who checked in for revenge. My father's inn wasn't just a business, it was a living, breathing soul built of sun-bleached wood and the scent of salt and pine. The Driftwood Inn was our kingdom, a quirky, warm haven on the California coast. Aria was its princess, learning the magic of hospitality at my father Julian's side. He taught me that a true home wasn't about thread count, but about the stories woven into its walls. We were a team, a perfect duo. I'd handle the guests with a bright smile, and he'd fix anything that broke with his capable hands and a whistle on his lips. We weren't rich, but we were rich in love, in community, in purpose. I believed that legacy was unshakable, an anchor that would hold me fast through any storm. I was so blissfully, tragically naive. The storm wasn't meteorological, it was a silent internal one, a heart attack. They found him in his workshop, a half-carved seagull in his hand. The world shattered. The vibrant colours of the inn faded to grey. I moved through the days like a ghost, the weight of my grief so immense I could barely breathe. It was in this vulnerable fog that my Uncle Silas, my father's younger brother, arrived. He was all slick sympathy and expensive suits, a stark contrast to my father's flannel shirts. "I'm here now, Aria," he'd croon, wrapping an arm around me. "I'll handle the unpleasantness, you just focus on healing." I mistook his calculated presence for family duty. I was too broken to see the vultures circling. Silas brought a friend. "This is Mr. Croft," he said, presenting a man with eyes as cold and polished as granite. "A financial whiz, he's here to help us navigate the estate." Mr. Croft offered a thin, lifeless smile. He spoke in a low, calm monotone, using words like liquidity, probate, and debt servicing. They became a team, Silas the comforting face and Croft the intimidating authority. They sat me down at my father's old oak desk. "There are debts, Aria," Silas said, his voice heavy with feigned concern. "Julian was a dreamer, not a businessman. Sign these and we can make it all go away." They placed a stack of incomprehensible documents in front of me. My vision blurred with tears. I just wanted the pain to stop. The pressure was relentless. "It's a standard transfer of administrative duties," Croft stated, his finger tapping a blank line. "Purely temporary. It allows Silas to manage the finances while you grieve." Silas handed me a pen. "It's what your father would have wanted to protect you from all this." My hand trembled. Every instinct screamed to stop, but my mind was a swamp of sorrow and exhaustion. They were family. They were supposed to be the ones I could trust. With a shaky breath, I scribbled my name on multiple pages I didn't understand. The moment the pen left the paper, a strange calm fell over them. The tension in their shoulders eased. I had just signed away my kingdom, and I was too heartbroken to hear the gate slamming shut. It took 2 weeks. The first clue was the realtor walking the property with Silas. Then the notice. It wasn't from a bank, it was from a corporate entity called Azure Holdings, informing me that I was trespassing on private property. I ran to Silas's temporary office, the paper crumpled in my fist. "What is this? What's Azure Holdings?" He didn't look up from his computer. "The Driftwood Inn was a sinking ship, Aria. Croft and I formed a new company to salvage it. Your sentimentality has no place here. The betrayal was a physical blow. You stole it." Finally he looked at me and all the brotherly warmth was gone. "I saved it. Now pack your things, you're making the staff uncomfortable." Mr. Croft handled my actual removal. He stood at the door, a security guard flanking him as I packed a single suitcase with my most personal items. Photos of my father, my mother's jewellery. I was not allowed to take anything else. "The assets of the inn now belong to the corporation," he said flatly. I was escorted out like a common thief. I stood on the coastal road, watching as they changed the locks on my childhood home. The Driftwood Inn sign was taken down and thrown into a dumpster. I was utterly alone, the salt air I'd always loved now tasting of ashes and despair. I had nothing. No home, no family, no future. For months I was a ghost. I worked 2 dead-end jobs, living in a shabby studio apartment. The humiliation was a constant fire in my belly. But one day I saw the announcement in the paper. Grand opening of the Azure Cove, a luxury boutique hotel. There was a picture of Silas and Croft, smiling, shaking hands in front of the sleek glass monstrosity they had built over my father's grave. That picture was the spark that lit the fuse. My grief didn't disappear, it transformed. It hardened in my core, becoming a diamond of pure, cold resolve. They thought I was weak. They thought I was broken. They were wrong. I was a student now, and my curriculum was revenge. I became a machine of self-improvement. I devoured books on hotel management, corporate finance, and forensic accounting. I spent my nights learning about cybersecurity and social engineering. I needed a new identity, one they would respect and fear. I chose the name Ilara. It sounded strong, elegant, and sharp. I crafted a flawless, fictional resume with a prestigious Swiss hospitality degree and experience at exclusive Asian resorts. I built a digital footprint for Ilara, a shadow life so convincing it would withstand any scrutiny. I was no longer Aria, the grieving daughter. I was Ilara, the weapon, being meticulously assembled in the dark. A year later, a position opened at the Azure Cove, guest relations manager. It was perfect. I walked into the lobby, my heart a drum of cold fury, my face a mask of polished ambition. The interview was with Mr. Croft himself. I spoke his language: profit margins, guest monetization, brand equity. I suggested ruthless strategies for upselling and cutting unnecessary, sentimental costs. I saw the spark of approval in his cold eyes. He was impressed by Ilara's cutthroat efficiency. The irony was so thick I could taste it. He was hiring the very soul he had tried to erase to make his hotel more profitable. He offered me the job on the spot. My first day as Ilara was a surreal nightmare. Walking through those sterile, polished halls felt like walking through my own corpse. But I played my part perfectly. I was efficient, demanding, and brilliantly manipulative. I quickly identified the staff members Sealers and Croft had mistreated, the overlooked housekeeper, the underpaid bartender. I became their champion, earning their loyalty and in turn their gossip. I learned about the tensions between my two bosses. Sealers loved the glamour, Croft only cared for the balance sheet. It was the first crack in their foundation, and I was ready to drive a wedge into it. My revenge began with whispers. I started with Sealers. Over a glass of expensive whiskey he'd expensed, I sighed. Mr. Croft was questioning the budget for your client entertaining. He called it excessive vanity. I saw the flash of anger in his eyes. Later, with Croft, I'd mention, I noticed the bar receipts are unusually high on nights Sealers hosts his friends. Perhaps the inventory should be audited. I was a ghost, moving between them, pouring poison in their ears. The arguments between them became more frequent, more heated. They were so busy suspecting each other. They never once suspected the poised, efficient woman managing their hotel. With their trust secured, I began the real sabotage. I created a handful of fake vendor companies with bank accounts I controlled. I'd approve invoices for linen refurbishment or specialty floral services that were never rendered. The money, small amounts that wouldn't trigger alarms, trickled into my accounts, my war chest. I also manipulated the booking system, creating secret discount codes for fictional, high-profile influencers that I used to book rooms at a 90% loss, creating a silent, growing hemorrhage in their revenue stream. I was a parasite, feeding on the body of their corrupt enterprise. My war was fought in the digital shadows. I created anonymous social media profiles and began a slow, calculated campaign. I'd post stunning photos of the Azure Cove, but the captions would hint at cold service or environmental concerns. I'd respond to positive reviews with vague, unsettling questions from a former employee account. Glad you enjoyed the view. Shame about the rumored foundation issues. I was building a narrative of doubt brick by digital brick, preparing for the day I would collapse the whole structure. The key to everything was in Croft's office. I needed access. One evening I feigned an IT crisis, claiming the financial server was glitching and I needed to check the hardwired terminal in his office. He grumbled but allowed it. While the fake diagnostic program ran, I searched his filing cabinet, and I found it, not just financial records but a geological survey. It confirmed my father's wildest suspicion. A massive oil deposit lay deep beneath the inn's protected coastal land. This wasn't just about a hotel. This was about $100 million oil deal. My father's sudden heart attack now felt chillingly convenient. The survey was one thing, but I needed a confession. I planted a tiny voice-activated recorder in Sealers' office disguised as a power adapter. Days later I retrieved it. The audio was crystal clear. Sealers was on the phone with his lawyer, panicked. I don't care what Croft says, we need to push the rezoning through faster. If anyone digs up that old survey, Julian was going to blow the whistle to the press. His timely departure saved us a fortune. My blood ran cold. Timely departure. They hadn't just stolen my home, they had likely caused my father's death. The revenge was no longer about property, it was about murder. The pieces were in place. The financial leaks were straining them. My digital whispers were creating a PR headache. Their partnership was fracturing publicly. The final touch was a masterpiece of chaos. I used my fake influencer accounts to promise a massive celebrity a complimentary, ultra-VIP stay. Then, I accidentally overbooked their suite. The celebrity and their entourage arrived to find no rooms. The resulting social media meltdown was instant and vicious. The Azure Cove was trending for all the wrong reasons. Sealers and Croft were at each other's throats, blaming one another for the catastrophic failure. In a stunning display of arrogance, they decided to host a 5-star excellence gala to counter the bad press. It was a lavish, self-congratulatory event, filled with investors, press and local dignitaries. It was the perfect stage. I used my authority to ensure I was running the audiovisual presentation. I wore a stunning, blood-red gown, a colour of war and warning. As I stood in the shadows watching them preen, I felt a glacial calm. They were celebrating on my father's grave. Tonight, I was the one who would do the digging. Sealers was mid-speech, boasting about their vision, when I gave the signal to my loyal tech contact. The screen behind him flickered. His smiling face was replaced by the document I signed, zoomed in on my tear-smudged signature. A gasp went through the crowd. I walked calmly to the stage and took the microphone from his frozen hand. "My name is not Ilara," I said, my voice echoing through the silent, stunned ballroom. "My name is Aria. And 5 years ago these men stole my home, my inheritance and my father." I looked directly at Sealers. "You told me my sentimentality was a liability. You were wrong. It was my motivation." I turned to the screen. "You didn't just want a hotel, you wanted the oil beneath it." I displayed the geological survey. The crowd murmured, journalists leaning forward. Then I played the audio. Sealers' voice clear as day. Julian was going to blow the whistle. His timely departure saved us. The room erupted. I saw the exact moment the life drained from Sealers' face. He knew it was over. Croft was already on his phone, desperately calling his lawyer, but it was too late. The truth was out, and it was viral. The aftermath was swift and brutal. The police were called not for my trespass, but for theirs. Sealers and Croft were taken in for questioning regarding fraud, forgery, and the new, sinister investigation into my father's death. The investors fled. The 5-star rating was revoked within days. The Azure Cove was a pariah, its bookings cancelled, its reputation a smoking crater. The empire they built on my bones collapsed in a single night. I stood in the empty lobby, watching through the glass doors as the police cars drove away, their flashing lights painting the walls in strokes of blue and red. Justice. In the cold light of day, the legal machinery ground into motion. Facing overwhelming evidence, Sealers tried to cut a deal, pinning the bulk of the conspiracy on Croft. Croft, in turn, exposed Sealers' gambling debts as the original motive. They devoured each other just as I'd planned. The hotel entered bankruptcy proceedings. With the war chest I had built from their own funds, and with the property's value annihilated by the scandal, I was the only logical buyer. I purchased the shell of the Azure Cove for a fraction of its worth. I had taken it back. The demolition was cathartic. I hired the same crew that had thrown my father's sign in the dumpster. We tore down the cold glass partitions, the sterile chrome fixtures. I sketched new plans not from memory but from the heart. I used the original blueprints of the driftwood inn as a foundation, but stronger, better. It wasn't a restoration, it was a resurrection. The local community, who had watched my ordeal with horror, now rallied, offering help. Sharing their own stories of my father's kindness, I was not alone anymore. The day we raised the refurbished driftwood inn sign was the day I finally laid my father to rest. The old hand-carved letters, lovingly restored, caught the morning sun. It was no longer a symbol of what I had lost, but a testament to what I had reclaimed. I had not just won back a building, I had reclaimed my identity, my power, and my father's legacy. The pain would always be a part of me, a scar, but it no longer defined me. It had forged me. The inn reopened to a waiting list. The story had made us famous. Guests didn't come for luxury, they came for the soul. They came to meet the woman who had fought a dragon and won. I stood behind the front desk, not as a princess, but as a queen. I had built a new family from the loyal staff who had stood by me. The inn was once again filled with laughter, music, and the warm, bustling energy my father had always cherished. It was alive again. Sealers was convicted of fraud and manslaughter. Croft received an even longer sentence for his role as the mastermind. They will spend a long, long time in a cell, which is the ultimate negative 5-star review. As for me, my story ends here at the beginning. The guest who checked in for revenge has finally checked out. I am Arya, keeper of my father's flame, protector of my own peace. To anyone who thinks they can break you, remember, the deepest wounds can forge the strongest spirits. Your greatest downfall can become your check-in time for a comeback. Don't ever let them tell you you're just a guest in your own life.